Narcissistic emotional abuse and validation. Narcissistic emotional abuse requires validation to help you understand what you're dealing with and to start to process what you've been through. Until you start to believe that what you've been through is really real, you're basically trapped. You're going to be stuck in an environment where you're constantly questioning yourself. Your ex will keep you in this state, basically keep you in this state of chaos to try to keep you from seeing the truth, trying to keep you from understanding what's really going on. In this stage, when you're going through this, you really need to listen to your inner voice and the warning signs that are presented to you, because we all see them, but we always discard them. So as you start to reconcile what you've been through, your mind will actually fight you, because you really don't want to believe what you're going through. It's really tough because you get so stuck with what that illusion is, what that facade is, that you don't want to let it go. So here's what happens. You're so scared to actually believe what's happening that you will discard it. Whenever those warning signs come up, whenever those little epiphanies, that inner voice of yours is actually telling you what's going on, you're going to fight with yourself, and you are going to talk yourself out of believing what that reality is. This is why validation is so important, because it helps you accept that what you've been through is real. Think about that for a moment. You've lived it, you basically fundamentally know it, but your brain is fighting you so much that you don't want to believe it. So that validation, either by actions of what the other person, what your ex has done to you, or even whenever you do talk to people and they basically validate the same experience or they agree with you, it is healing to help you understand what you've been through. So on that, what you're going to find yourself doing, and I fell into this same trap, is you are going to tell everybody that you run into what you've been through and what your situation is. We all fall into that. I did it myself, and I've even seen it. I mean, there have been times where I've been at the grocery store and somebody else is going through the same thing, and they're running into somebody and they're like, "Oh, hi, Bill, nice to talk to you." And then they just go on about how the situation they've been through, or what's going on, or what the other parent's not doing. It's because it's so unbelievable. They don't believe it themselves, and it's like you're saying it out loud and you're trying to either have someone else tell you that you're wrong, that you're blowing things out of proportions. And again, it's basically because you don't honestly believe that with the situation you're going through can be this crazy. And bottom line, you're just expecting the other person to invalidate your own comment. This is where you have to be really careful on who you talk to, because your reality really seems pretty much crazy. So here's the deal. When you're seeking validations, try to find safe resources to help you when you're going through this. Look for people locally who understand, who've been through it, who understand narcissistic abuse, toxic people, personality disorders. There's not a lot of people out there, and to be perfectly honest, just a couple of little comments from them will really let you know whether they understand. If they're using some of the same buzzwords, if they're saying no contact, or they're gaslighting, or those type of things, or narcissist or whatever, there's a good chance they might have an idea. If you don't have a safe person within your area who understands this, you're really better off limiting who you talk to and the information you give them, because unfortunately, you're really in a situation to where you are going to make yourself look crazy, that you're stuck on your ex, that you can't get over it, that you're just, you're blowing things out of proportion, and it really undermines your own credibility. And if the other person is actually running a smear campaign against you, you're actually going to fall into it, because you're going to sound a little crazy. We've all done it. I've been through it. A lot of the people on this channel have been through this. You'll see that within the comments. And you could be going through this as well. And it's really tough because you are looking for that validation. So if you look for a safe resource within your area. If you don't have that, look for online communities of survivors who understand. There is a bunch of Facebook groups and some forums. I even have a forum off my website for that. And ultimately the YouTube channels, like my channel right here, can help provide you validation. Obviously you're not going to be able to talk to me about your specific situations unless you send me an email or do it within the comments, but you can see those consistent stories or those consistent examples to where my situation mirrors yours, or somebody in the comments will say something that mirrors yours, and then you don't feel as alone, and you have that validation that what you're going through is actually real and other people have been through it. So when you find one of these environments, basically one of these safe environments, it really enables you to learn and get validation without causing yourself problems, without bringing that scenario, out in the open to other people who, like I said before, who don't understand and who aren't going to validate your situation and could ultimately start to think that there's a problem with you because of it. It can, if you're not careful about this, it can impact your job, it can impact your family relationships, and it could also impact your friends. And you have to be careful about it. Now, and just remember that, when you're looking for validation, because it is really important, be mindful and aware that if you're looking in the wrong location, it could actually cause you additional chaos and trouble that you really don't need when you're trying to recover from this. Look, it took me a few years to really get to this point. And in the beginning, I talked way too much about way too much information and way too much detail to too many people. And as you progress through this, you will be able to ultimately validate within yourself. You'll be able to self-validate and ultimately trust yourself again. I mean, right now in the beginning stages of this, you don't trust yourself because your judgment has been so messed with and you've been gaslit so much that you just, you're not even really sure what end is up. But that doesn't last forever. The more you work through this, the more you learn about this, the more you do get external validation and you can start to trust your own instincts and your own feelings, you're going to be able to self-validate. That'll help you validate with what's going on with this relationship, and it's also going to help you in the future whenever you recognize toxic people, or at least if they have the traits, maybe they're not full-blown narcissists, but you know that there's something wrong, you'll see it, you'll recognize it, you'll believe it, you'll validate to yourself that it's actually happening, and you'll be able to prevent yourself from basically getting into those toxic environments. So before I close on this, I want to say one thing that is really important, and that is we serve a significant role in helping our children validate their reality as well. This is really complicated because they don't really know who to trust. They're stuck in the middle. They know what they're hearing from, mom. They know what they're hearing from dad. Maybe they're overhearing other adults talk. And then they have their own feelings about what's going on. So they are going to be looking for the same type of validation and trying to rebuild the trust in their own environment that we're trying to do. So this is where it's really important for us to validate their concerns, even with us. I've talked about this in other videos where, like, owning your mistakes and having those good discussions with your kids and being able to, whenever you made a mistake or whether they have a concern, to be able to validate it with them so that you're not telling them, no, you don't feel that way. If they're saying, I'm really mad at you, no, you're not mad at me, or you shouldn't be mad at me, or you're attacking them, you don't want to do that, right? You want to be able to validate their feelings and their emotions with what they're going through so that you can help them through this as well. Now, granted, we play a really odd role in this because we're participants, so it's not like we're neutral in it, but what we can do is we can open up those lines of communication with our kids. Make sure that they feel safe with us. Make sure that if they have, if they have a concern, that we're able to pause for a minute and say, okay, okay, Johnny, what, so you're frustrated that I'm doing what? Okay, why do you feel that way? And the answer, when they answer, your answer isn't, well, let me explain to you why you're wrong. No, you're just like, okay, I'm so, like, let's say if they come back and they say, well, you don't listen to what I'm saying, it's all about you, hypothetically, right? And you say, okay, wow, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was doing that. So I really want to hear what you have to say. It's really important. I mean, what is going, what's your opinion, or not what's your opinion, what's your experience, and then what can I do to make it better, right? Because you want to validate that their issue is legitimate, that it's real to them, and then what can you do to validate it? Now, you don't necessarily want to say to them, okay, well, it's a real issue to you, let's work through this because I get that it's important to you. I mean, you don't want to do that. You want to actually say, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. If you can apologize and say, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. What can I do to make it better, right? You don't want to do that, tactic to where you negate their emotions, you negate their feelings, you invalidate their feelings. And then see, the problem with that is then it reduces or diminishes the trust that you have with them. So I know I talk about this a lot, that we have a tremendous opportunity to help our children. Doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean it's something that we're going to just be, skipping down the road doing. But we do have just an amazing opportunity to build that trust and that relationship with our kids. And it's going to help them in their, basically deal with the situation now and as they become adults. So bottom line is, validating narcissistic emotional abuse is really important, because you have to. The first step of it is, I know we just talked about dealing with our children, but the first step is putting that oxygen mask, like they say in the airplanes. You have to put it on yourself, get yourself okay before you can help the person next to you or help your child. It's along the same lines. We have to get an understanding. You have to get an understanding of your environment, of your reality, accept it, believe it, so that you can start moving forward. And like I said, then as that works, as you build on that, then you're able to push that down or help or take those techniques and help your children as well. Okay, so on that, I'm going to wrap this video up. If you want to add some of the discussion or some of your experiences with validating your situation in the comments below, I mean, if you've been successful with that, do that, because then people can read that and see that, hear it from someone else's perspective. If you're struggling with this, and you're still questioning, add that into the comments below. There's a lot of people, like I said, who've been through that before and, can help you with that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. If you haven't had a chance to go over to the Dad Surviving Divorce website, please do that. You can sign up for the newsletter there. There's a little box right off the main page to sign up for that, where I send out newsletters. And on that, I hope you're doing okay. This does get better. Just take it slow yourself down. One nice thing I've said about this before, especially in the early stages of divorce, and pretty much even in relationships that are falling apart, nothing needs to happen immediately. It feels like it does. It feels like everything's a crisis, but you do have time to breathe. Take advantage of that, calm yourself down, and really slow down and take an objective look at your situation. That will help you tremendously when you're trying to validate your own experience with narcissistic emotional abuse. So on that, I will chat with you guys on the next video. So take care, and all right, see you, bye.